Hello, you're watching news from Kazakhstan, and here are the headlines. Almaty military court is examining the appeal for a life sentence of the border guard Vladislav Chelakh. Is there a hope for the change in the verdict? Second suicide in the NSC Border Patrol Agency. Former intelligence agents doubt that an officer with a solid self-control could have committed a suicide as a result of domestic altercation. Law enforcement agencies made it clear that reading of the new newspaper Republic could be considered as distribution of banned media. On Tuesday, the appellate process of the most notorious trial over the massacre at Arkan outpost was held in Almaty. Last year, the court found border guard Vladislav Chelakh guilty and sentenced him to life in jail. The Tuesday's process was held in the military court of Almaty. Chelakh was interrogated via teleconference from Taldykurgan. Journalists were not allowed to enter the courtroom and stayed in the press room. There were problems with the sound and image, however, our crew was able to capture the details.
This second long video is the first brief public appearance of Vladislav Chelakh in 2 months. The former border guard, convicted for killing 15 people at Arkan outpost, refused to attend the trial in the appeals court of Almaty. On Tuesday, Judge Bakhatjan Karamanov agreed to set up an online broadcast with Private Chelakh, who is serving a life sentence in Taldykurgan prison. The session held at the end of the hearing was rather short and determined that Chelakh's testimonies will be heard on Wednesday. The attorney's speech took up most of the proceeding. Sirik Sarsena filed 26 motions, most of which have already been heard during the initial trial. We ask to discard the evidence and initiate various expert examinations. We also want to disregard investigation reports and other documentation. Dozens of activists now follow the progress of the appeals process. They form the core of the movement asking for a fair trial over Arkan tragedy and insisting on Chelakh's innocence through social networks. The online petition has been signed by 14,000 people so far. On Tuesday, the activists brought along white ribbons and tied them to a tree outside the military court. White symbolizes justice and purity. We demand a fair trial to have Chelakh acquitted. Only 3 defense motions have been granted on Tuesday hearing. The attorney also attempted to recuse the judge, yet to no avail. The appeal proceedings will continue on Wednesday with the Judge Bakhatjan Karamanov.
The Border Patrol Agency of the National Security Committee is the source of emergencies. Yet another suicide was committed by an NSC officer. National Security Committee is not providing any clear explanations. More details in the next report.
The unfortunate statistics keeps growing, as according to official information, Murat Kadralinov, a captain with the NSC Border Service and a deputy head of the Chunjinsk Border Detachment, committed suicide on Sunday following a family dispute. Special services refrained from making any statements at this time. No special operations are planned. A group of officers has been sent to investigate the incident. They will work on the scene, and as soon as we have any information, we will share it. One of the elite divisions within the National Security Committee has lately turned into an emergency department, with incidents following one another with a weekly regularity. For Arat Narmambetov, a former KGB serviceman, giving weekly comments regarding new suicides of special service officers is now becoming a norm. Family disputes can be valid reasons for things like that, especially compared to very rare suicide cases that did happen in the past, like when several security generals killed themselves after the failed coup attempted in 1991. They had motivation, unlike here. A divorce is not it. The former Attorney General Jarmahan Toyakbay blames the incompetence of the authorities for the series of suicides and expresses his concerns about the possibility of new wave of similar tragedies repeating in other agencies. The failure of the entire system is vividly exposed by the current situation in the border troops, and soon it could occur in any other ministry, department or official branch. Political analysts are also concerned about the developments within the state's agencies recently. According to the Simsatpayev, corruption, poor training and incompetent personnel have all become an integral part of a severe crisis the entire system currently suffers from. One of the country's major issues concerns an acute crisis of the entire power structure, which unfortunately became a state within a state, buried in corruption scandals, officers' suicides and other similar things. For the time being, the wave of officers' suicides is the most discussed topic among Kaznet bloggers, who seem to link the situation with some unforeseen future developments and are asking who the next victim will be.
The arrest of officials of Ukrspets Export who were detained in Kazakhstan was extended for another 2 months. This information was confirmed by an official Kiev on Tuesday. However, as was noted by the MFA representative, the charges were not yet presented to the Ukrainians. To recap, 2 officials whose names are not being disclosed were detained in Astana airport on January 26. 2 days later, their arrest was extended by 10 days.
Ukrspets Export is suspected of giving a $200,000 bribe to Kazakhstan officials for their assistance in securing government contracts. According to the Ukrainian media, Kazakhstan secret services actually have record evidence of the money transfer. BBC Ukraine reported that the case might be linked to the Ukrainian-Kazakhstan ATC supply contracts amounting to $150 million. Others name missile systems and military transport helicopters maintenance as possible agreement areas. Previously, it was reported that Almas Asenov, the chief of the Defense Ministry's Armament Directorate, was arrested for accepting a bribe, although officials refrained from commenting whether these 2 cases are related.
2 police officers were detained in Atyrau region suspected of rape. According to official information, members of Zhilyoy police department are charged of raping 34-year-old woman. Investigation of the crime is underway.
A Taras native temporarily residing in Kulsary reported that 2 district police inspector assistants and their accomplice brutally raped and tortured her. The suspects have been apprehended and placed in the temporary detention facility until the results of the expert examination of the incident. During the urgent briefing in Atyrau, the Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs already dismissed the head of Zhilyoy Regional Internal Affairs Department for the offense committed by his subordinates. During the operational briefing, the Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs dismissed the head of the Zhilyoy Regional Department of Internal Affairs, Sirik Yerbulekov, of his position.
Journalist Tatiana Trubacheva is not allowed to read the new newspaper Republic. Representatives of the law enforcement tried to hand in the notification to her on Tuesday, claiming that it is prohibited to distribute the publication under single mass media Respublika. But the Republic, which was established 2 weeks ago and which has a circulation of 99 copies, is not part of the banned list. Moreover, Trubacheva is not an editor in the new newspaper. Why reading of newspapers is now forbidden in Kazakhstan, find out from the next report.
Tatiana Trubacheva, the chief editor of newspaper Golos Respubliki, Kaleidoskop Событий Недели, has been warned by the prosecutor's office of a possible criminal liability for the violation of law. Senior Deputy District Attorney paid a visit to the office of the freshly established newspaper called Republic. He told the chief editor she could be considered liable for violating the court order to stop distributing banned media. Late last year, Kazakhstan's authorities declared 4 dozen publications extremist, including all media under Respublika's umbrella. Trubacheva is the chief editor of one of these publications. You said I distribute an extremist publication. Tell me which one. It appears the prosecutor has a problem with the English-titled Republic, which was published the total of 2 times with a grand circulation of 99 copies. Tatiana Trubacheva is listed as its chief reader, while another person is marked as the editor. I don't know exactly about your position in this newspaper, but your name is listed here. At the same time, Republic employs a similar format and design as Golos Respubliki. This is enough to assume you are failing to obey the court order. However, the ruling regarding the so-called extremist media has yet to be enforced. An appeal regarding the matter will be reviewed in 2 days on February 8th. But even then, neither Tatiana Trubacheva nor Republic will have anything to do with the ruling. They are generally afraid of anything related to Respublika, and therefore I believe it doesn't matter how we name our newspapers. Even if we name it Long Live Nazarbayev and publish it in 99 copies, they will still be trying to shut us down. On the way out, the assistant attorney warned about the upcoming visit of the court-martial on Wednesday morning, who is going to clarify the situation with the chief reader of the Republic. In the meantime, Trubacheva herself encouraged everyone through social networks to follow the developments surrounding the media.
Loss of cattle is continuing in Pavlodar region due to unstable weather and heavy rainfall. Local farmers experience substantial loss of horses. According to livestock farmers, if the authorities are not going to take any measures, the farming economies will suffer critical losses. State officials avoid talking about compensations, claiming that they always helped the farmers. Arguments of both sides in the next report.
Livestock farmers from Pavlodar region and KplusTV area continue accounting losses caused by poor weather conditions. For instance, a small Akol village reported about the loss of 300 horses and expressed serious concern about the remaining stocks seeing the rest of the winter. Livestock farmers say they don't know how to deal with the situation on their own and call the authorities for any possible aid. We now ask senior authorities to help us with a 50% compensation. Local officials said they will help the farmers, but it is too soon to talk about compensations, since a decision like that should be made by senior officials. The aid to farms will be provided if senior authorities give us the green light. In any case, the head of a KplusTV administration already met with village elders and farmers, raising the issue. Meanwhile, poor weather conditions also affected local infrastructure, destroying most access roads to rural settlements. An underground tunnel was formed there by the morning and the road will be gone again, but people still need to go to the city somehow. Just recently, Pavlodar officials asked the management of the state-run company Protkorporatsiya to supply the region with 10,000 tons of feed grain, which will be later allocated to local farms. The national company has yet to reply to the inquiry.
Approximately $27,000 will be paid to the relatives of those passengers and crew members killed in the recent air crash. Out of this amount, Scott Airlines will pay $20,000. Meager insurance payments to the families of the victims have raised public resonance.
Compensations for the families of the victims killed in the January 29 air crash near Almaty are much lower except at international levels. Parliament member Gani Kasimov estimated the amount of financial assistance as insignificant and noted that abroad the insurance payments from the carrier could reach millions of dollars. It is necessary to significantly increase all insurance risks, which will trigger the increase of responsibility on the part of airlines. Companies will realize that if something happens to their aircraft and people die as a result, they will not have enough money to compensate the damage even if they sell all their fleet. For instance, in the United States, the Ministry of Transportation says the compensation and families of air crash victims receive up to $3 million if a tragedy occurs. These payments come from the federal budget and do not include insurance coverage. In the most high-profile cases like 9/11, the close ones of the dead were paid up to $7 million. Local insurance companies believe that the compensation amount is not likely to rise as long as airlines fail to fulfill their obligations. We cannot dictate our terms to airlines. However, the insurance company Eurasia believes that jets produced over 15 years ago must be insured under completely different rates. The range of planes crashing in Kazakhstan as well as in other parts of Asia and Africa must be gradually discarded. If said airlines want to change their policies, the parliament must step in. The MP's proposal to leverage the government in influencing airlines was made a week after the tragedy in the Almaty region. Victims' families were paid only about $27,000 in compensation, most of which came from Scott Air, which operated the flight. Our staff is working on this case, and as soon as we have accurate information about recipients, we will transfer the funds to avoid the money ending up in wrong hands. The mere fact that the airline is concerned about the money ending up in wrong hands speaks for itself. Unfortunately, that's reality in Kazakhstan these days. In the meantime, it is still not clear whether local carriers will be forced to insure their passengers anytime soon.
Kazakh Stock Exchange noted several debuts at the financial market of the country. The start of the Project National IPO, the issue of Islamic shares and creation of clearing organization. However, other, not as positive news as the unification of all pension funds and the merger of Temir and Alliance banks didn't go unnoticed.
Kazakhstan Stock Exchange executives revealed the financial performance results for the past year during the Tuesday press conference. According to the reported data, the number of currency exchange operations has dropped significantly, while the stock market itself is still growing. In the meantime, country's pension funds took advantage of permission to acquire more private equities by purchasing Kazakh shares. Pension funds' participation interest in Kazakh secondary stock market has reached 11.7%, which makes a considerable share. Curiously, however, the National Pension Fund doesn't seem to be interested in selling the acquired stocks. On the contrary, their demand for the stake increases as the price goes down. The stock exchange president Kadirjan Damitov notes that sudden increase in securities earning power signifies the project's initial success. The current average stock price remains at the level of $5.4 per share, while the trading activity has reached 1,500 equity transactions a day. The current growth rate is 13 to 14%, which means 220 to 300% of annual returns on investments. That certainly beats the income on bank deposits with a maximum annual return rate of 10%. According to the reporting executives, the shares of Kaztrans and K-Cell companies proved to trigger the highest demand. Meanwhile, the major depreciation of Kazakhtelecom's stock value was halted only by a dividend payout in May of 2012. Just a few months ago, the national telecommunication company shareholders bypassed the stock exchange by attempting to sell the devalued securities through social networks.
This is all for now. Thank you for watching. Stay well.